I think this is good life advice in general, but it came to me in the context of the business world, so I will go ahead and present it to you as such. It's not who you hire who brings down your business. Rather, it's who you do not fire. And when you take a look at what's happening with Afghanistan, because they said, hey man, don't worry about it. You guys get to the airport, nothing bad's going to happen to you. And then all of a sudden, 12 troops end up dead because there's a suicide bomber outside. ISIS took credit for it. It has nothing to do with the Taliban. Yeah, wasn't Al-Qaeda the first time went through all of this fucking horseshit? Weren't they the violent arm of the Taliban? Now they have now they have ISIS, ISIS-K, whatever the fuck you want to call it. It still all comes back to the Taliban. Biden needs to be held accountable for this. No ifs, ands, or buts about it, okay? If anybody thinks this is some kind of a 4D chess move in order to put Kamala in top, and that's what everybody wants, and it's some sort of walls closing in event, really, okay? Just think about it this way. It could be some big conspiracy plot to have the first female president of all time. And you know what? Hey, if that's their end game, they're dumber than we're giving them credit for. Because somebody who is so overwhelmingly unpopular as Kamala Harris, why would that be your end game? Why would that be your final move? Why would it come at the cost of 20 years in the Middle East? Why would it come at the cost of 12, if not more? There was apparently, I've seen some reports that 90 people are dead, 3 digits of people more are injured because of the suicide bombing. This isn't the only instance of this. This is going to get worse all the way up until August 31st when there's still that drop dead date. Oh no, man, we got contingency plans. Go fuck off, Biden. Because he gave a little fucking press conference after all of this stuff went down. And you really got to see that there is really nothing at this point going on between those ears. Let's get the ground rules out of the way. 12 U.S. troops killed in Afghanistan bombings, according to the Pentagon. 12 U.S. troops were killed in a bombing in Kabul, Afghanistan on Thursday. In addition, 15 were wounded. CENTCOM Commander General Kenneth McKenzie told reporters in a briefing conducting hours after the attack. It wasn't clear what branch of the troops were killed or injured. ISIS claimed responsibilities for the attack, bragging about a suicide bomber managing to penetrate all the security fortifications. We've already seen that. There's been people shot and people wounded outside the airport, so don't think that none of these militants haven't managed to sneak on the fucking plane and got evacuated out there. This is gonna get worse. This is not the end game. U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin in a statement expressed his deepest condolences to the loved ones and teammates who were killed and wounded in Kabul. Imagine that. If you guys would have had a fucking plan to begin with, those 12 people would still be alive. Terrorists took their lives at the very moment these troops were trying to save the lives of others. We mourn their loss. The way that you worded that, it sounds like you're trying to make up for the fact that these terrorists went in there and fucking blew themselves up. Like, what are we doing here? We will treat their wounds and we will give their support to the families and most assuredly be devastating grief, but we will not be dissuaded from the task at hand, he said. To do anything less, especially now, would dishonor the purpose and sacrifice that these men and women have rendered our country and the people of Afghanistan. Thousands of people over the past 20 years have fought in order to find that all of their struggles, all of their sacrifices are completely going up in smoke. You better lose your job over this one too, Austin. There's no excuse. The bombings took place at or near the Abbey Gate, which sits on the eastern side of the airport, on Thursday evening local time. One went off at the gate before at least one other exploded near the Baron Hotel, situated a short distance from the gate. Photographs showed injured and bloodied people, with dozens of Afghans among the wounded or killed. The total number of casualties wasn't known. Yeah, it's not known how many people have actually died yet, how many people are seriously injured, how many people are just injured. But yeah, it was another successful attack by ISIS. Boy, it's been a minute since we heard from them, haven't we? But how about hearing from the guy who, actually put all of this Middle Eastern Islamic violence to bed? Melania and I send our deepest condolences to the families of our brilliant and brave service members whose duty to the United States meant so much to them. Our thoughts are also with the families of the innocent civilians who died today in the savage Kabul attack. This tragedy should have never been allowed to happen, which makes our grief even deeper and more difficult to understand. May God bless the USA, care of the 45th President, Donald J. Trump. This wouldn't have happened under Trump, okay? Because he had a very, very different approach, okay? You might not like it, you might not like the man himself, but his approach to the conflict, he didn't shy away. He didn't have a general distaste for war. He just had a general distaste for conflict. Now let me explain. When there was an issue in the Middle East, when there was something fucking going on, what did he do? He went in there and he took out the fucking problem before it escalated further. Al-Baghdadi, the head of ISIS. Soleimani, the war hawk in Iran. Took care of all that stuff. What did they do in retaliation? What did ISIS do in retaliation? They just got completely and utterly decimated. And then they went back into the hills and just waited for Biden to show back up again, because he would never, ever have retaliated to the same extent that Trump would do. Iran, exact same thing. Oh, we're going to go back and fight against you. And then Trump is like, hey, look at all the shit that we have. And they're like, okay, cool, we got it. That was the type of diplomacy that Trump would enact. It always came from a position of strength. It wasn't, oh, can we just make a deal with you guys so we can get out of here? Don't let the spin machines out there tell you any different. Oh, Trump worked with the Taliban to get out of there. No, he told them, hey, we're going to fucking glass you motherfuckers if you don't let us get out. And they're like, okay, cool. Then when Biden ripped up that plan and he decided to go in with his own, what do you think that the other people sitting at the end of the table did? It was like, what do you think this puppet's going to fucking do? Exactly. That's why the tick and vest brigade are right back at it. But like I said, Biden held a little press conference today, and then at the end of it, he had his pre-screened questions. He had his pre-screened people in the crowd that he would actually take questions from, and we could play the clip, but I'll just cut to the chase. The first person I was instructed to call on. He's not in charge, people. We've known this for a long time, and now it's starting to come around and people are starting to figure this out. This isn't going to end well for Biden. He had best get impeached. He had best step down off the back of this. We'll deal with the consequences after the fact, but somebody has to be held accountable for this one. Remember when I said before that they aren't going to be leaving Afghanistan after all? Yeah, no, this right here kind of leads me to believe that in fact is going to be the case. America will retaliate against ISIS for Kabul bombings. How? You're already taking out troops. All you got is a bunch of people just fucking waiting to get blown up at the airport. Like, what are you gonna do? Huh? You're letting the Germans and the Brits show you up in the fucking problem that you voted for multiple fucking times. Because remember, just a little history lesson for you, just a little history break. Joe Biden, sitting U.S. Senator for the Saigon debacle, Vice President for Benghazi, and now he's the President for Afghanistan. The dude's failed at every fucking level. And just like that one dork, wherever you fucking work, you probably know the guy I'm talking about. He's the motherfucker who's just going to be incompetent enough to just keep failing up in the company until he hits his ceiling, and then he just sits there for the rest of his career. I go as a different name for everybody else's different job that's out there. But you guys all know that person. And unfortunately, that's Joe Biden right now. He's literally never put forth any legislation that is stuck. Okay? His 1994 crime bill, it was repealed about a decade later. Outside of that, what else has he done? Oh, he's voted on the wrong side of the Afghanistan war and Iraq war. He's been on the wrong side of everything, but everybody loves old Uncle Joe, right? At least they did. Let's see how weak-kneed this sounds. The United States will strike ISIS in retaliation for bombing in Kabul that left a dozen U.S. troops dead, President Joe Biden said on Thursday. I believe him. He doesn't even know where he was giving his speech. To those who carried out this attack, as well as anyone who wishes America harm, know this: we will not forgive. Really? Really? Do I even need to provide examples for that? We will not forget. Fuck off. We will hunt you down, we will make you pay. I'll defend our interests and our people with every measure at my command. Starting a new conflict? Drone strike in the bases? Like, what the fuck are you actually gonna do? Or is this just all show, okay? Whatever you had written on your fucking teleprompter for your speech. I don't believe them. I don't trust them to do anything other than just hurry up and scurry out and be out by August 31st now that you've wore out your welcome. President has directed military officials to draw up plans to strike ISIS facilities and fighters, okay? We will respond with force and precision at our time, at a place we choose, at the moment of our choosing. Oh, no, you gotta go ahead and you gotta tell these people. Because the Taliban might not like your timing on this one. You gotta run it past them first. These ISIS terrorists will not win. America will not be intimidated. Yeah, they will. Nobody takes you seriously. Nobody takes your administration seriously. You can't impose your power if nobody takes you seriously. U.S. officials have pegged the death toll among Americans at 12, with another 15 troops wounded. Dozens of Afghans also suffered casualties. Biden spoke about 7 hours after the explosion went off in the United States-held airport of Kabul. Are they really, if it continues to get attacked, are they actually holding the airport? He and administration officials, save for a short briefing from the U.S. general, have gone dark following the attack, prompting calls for the resignation by some leading Republicans. Pretty much the entire Conversation has shifted on Biden. A lot of people are calling for him to step down on this one. And there's no reasonable defense for everything that he's doing right now. It really isn't. Biden described himself and First Lady Jill Biden as outraged and heartbroken. Well, do something about it. Stop tucking tail and running out of the room. Get your generals together. Get your advisors together, okay? They got you in this fucking debacle. Either getting some new people or tell them to fucking get to work. But maybe it is going to need getting a new set of generals, a new set of advisors, because according to the Telegraph, Joe Biden's aides too afraid to tell him he was wrong on Afghanistan. Coming from a source from the White House, so again, take it with a grain of salt. It's a source from the White House. Got to be fair on this one. President Joe Biden's aides were too scared to question him on key decisions made in the run-up to the U.S. withdrawal from Afghanistan. Sources close to the administration have told the Telegraph. Unnamed sources, you got to take it with a bucket of salt. Mr. Biden, who is facing the greatest crisis of his presidency, interesting why they didn't say President Biden, but okay, is said to have insisted on recalling troops ahead of the anniversary of the 9/11 attacks and ignored warnings that it would not leave the military with enough time to get U.S. citizens and allies out. Again, he did this totally fucking backwards. Speaking to people close to the administration, the Telegraph has managed to build a picture of a stubborn-headed and defensive president continuing to tout his foreign policy nous. I would describe his foreign policy victories as knout, but okay, and a staff too afraid to question him. What happens when you get a bunch of yes people around you, okay? And again, I'm just going to say random outbursts of emotion and stubbornness is kind of the signs of dementia. I'm just going out there and floating that again. One former defense official who is in regular contact with his senior White House aides suggested that there was not much pushback from concerned officials because they were too afraid. Of what? Getting challenged to a push-up contest? Being called fat? Like, what the fuck? People are simply too afraid to tell Biden and Jake Sullivan, his national security advisor, they're wrong. It's one thing to crack down on leaks, as Mr. Biden has done. Really? I've been seeing a whole hell of a lot of those lately, but okay. It's another thing to allow a mistake like this. They told the Telegraph this White House is very disciplined. Really? Especially when it comes to leaks and such, but the downside of... Or maybe that just means that there's a whole bunch of other shit going on behind the scenes, and that's even more frightening to think about. But anyways, back to this. But the downside of discipline is if you're running things like an autocracy, and if you are a broker, broker no dissent internally, that's not what the purpose of the White House staff is. Exactly. It's just having a bunch of empty suits around one fucking geriatric empty suit. But no mean tweets. No mean tweets. So what's being left behind? 75,000 vehicles. 600,000 weapons, 208 aircrafts in Afghanistan. That's what the Taliban's going to have at their disposal. They're going to be better equipped than like 90% of militaries around the world. You know that, right? Oh my God. 20 years for nothing. Government watchdog group says that the U.S. military is leaving behind 75,000 vehicles, 600,000 weapons, and 208 aircrafts in Afghanistan as forces evacuate the country after a 20-year war. They made the Taliban into a major U.S. arms dealer for the next decade, said Adam Andrzejewski, CEO of Open Books. They now control the same amount of vehicles, rather. This is about 50,000 tactical vehicles, 20,000 Humvees. They control about 1,000 mine-resistant vehicles, and even about 150 armored personnel carriers. Fuck, you should have got... Okay, because I'll just run it down again. What you guys should have done, take out your high-priority, high-value people from the country to begin with. Then your other civilians. Then your tertiary equipment. Then your troops. What did Biden do? Troops first. Work the way up. He's a fucking idiot, man. But I know foreign policy. I've been around forever. Another old saying, it's easier to get older than it is to get wiser. Proof is in the pudding with the 46th president. Since 2001, the U.S. has spent $83 billion in Afghanistan security forces through training and equipment, he said. Yep. And how much of that is actually getting left behind? The whole fucking hell of a lot of it. We built them a pretty amazing war chest, and now it's all in the hands of the Taliban, said Andrzejewski. We know that last month, as of late July, 7 new helicopters were being delivered in the city of Kabul. Oh my God. But it's all right. I think they're at the airport, right? In the U.S., they control that, right? Yeah, obviously. But what else did they leave behind? This right here. There's no other way to interpret this than treasonous behavior. U.S. officials gave the Taliban names of American citizens, green card holders, and Afghan allies. The only way that you can explain this, and it's not a good defense, but it is a defense, okay, is that the Taliban said that they would allow people to get out of the country by August 31st. And by telling the people that are American citizens or American adjacent individuals, giving them clearance to get to the airport, that was acting in good faith. But you're dealing with a terrorist organization, one that has been recognized as a terrorist organization by many countries around the world. Like I said, it's not a good defense. It is a defense. This is just treason. There's no two ways about it. You don't even need the high crimes and misdemeanors portion of the impeachment clause. Treason, bribery, high crimes, and misdemeanors. This is treason. No two ways about it. U.S. officials in Afghanistan gave the Taliban a list of Americans and Afghans to evacuate. This plan was to enable the expediting of Americans and Afghan allies from Afghanistan. But the Defense Department official, speaking on conditions of anonymity, told Politico that basically this just put all of those Afghans on a kill list. It's just appalling and shocking and makes you feel unclean. Yeah. Like, literally, there's no defense for this. Some heads in the Pentagon and the White House need to roll over this. This is unbelievably stupid. Politico reports that the list of names were given so that the persons would be granted entry into the Kabul airport where evacuations are ongoing. I just set it up because that's the only fucking defense. That's the only way you could justify this. But it's not a good defense. You know what you do? You go in there and you extract the people out yourself, okay? That are high value targets. You don't just tell the fucking terrorist organizations, hey, here's a list of all those people that you really hate and would definitely be a thorn in your side after August 31st. We need all those people to come to the airport, and don't worry, we'll take care of all of them. Don't worry, the Taliban will also take care of them too. It just involves peeling their skin off their body while they're still alive, strapping them to the fucking rack, making them stretch, tarring and feathering them, and parading them through the streets. They'll take care of them, all right. They'll get them to the airport, except they're just going to tie them to the back of the plane before they take off. President Biden was asked on Friday, why do you continue to trust the Taliban? And yeah, he just walked out of the room because he's fucking pointless. Nobody could reasonably defend Biden for this, for the entire extraction. He doesn't have a leg to stand on anymore. Even his supporters, even his most ardent supporters, are turning on him. This was shocking, okay? Because I appreciate Sam Harris. He's a smart guy. He has good insight on a whole host of things. He just came down with a terminal case of TDS, and he is just an arrogant motherfucker who is one of those technocrats who thinks that he should be in control of the world. But when I seen this pop up, I was shocked beyond all belief. Because on Inauguration Day, feeling overwhelming gratitude for the adults in the room. And then today, just a couple of hours ago, publicly eating these words syllable by syllable. They're all turning on Joe, okay? It took a lot less time than even I anticipated. This doesn't make me like Sam Harris anymore. It just makes me see that the jig's kind of up. And with everything else that's going on right now, I haven't forgot about that terrorism alert thing that the Department of Homeland Security issued when they said that, oh, we're going to be expecting an increase in terrorist threats when it comes to white supremacists or people around the 20th anniversary of 9/11, okay? They did that strategically. That was a cover your ass maneuver that they pulled right at the beginning of this. Things are going to get hairy, and I don't want to prognosticate it any more than just that. And now that everybody's starting to turn on Joe, you remember how long he kept the National Guard in Washington? You remember how high those fences are built around the Capitol building? I'm not saying they're there for a reason, but they might be there for a reason, more than just keeping them from wandering off the compound. But we got to talk about the Canadian election. And for the first time in a long time, I'm sort of optimistic. Yeah, I know that's weird. We're going to talk about Canada in a light that actually evokes some sort of optimism for like the first time in a very long time. I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.